The research ship Stellar Harmony moved slowly through space toward the green planet below. Dr. Velthar looked at the planet through the main screen and felt worried. His forearms moved nervously as he read the reports again. Kythera 7 was not a safe place for researchers. Dr. Velthar, we are ready to land, said Commander Nolvek. The tall reptilian officer stood at attention, his scaled hands resting on his weapon belt. His yellow eyes showed concern. Dr. Velthar nodded. As the lead scientist from the Zelani species, he had studied many dangerous worlds. But this planet was different. The reports all said the same thing. Every research team that came here failed. The reason was always the same creature, the Shadow Maw. Tell me about our team again, Dr. Velthar said to Dr. Hyojin, the human coordinator. Dr. Hyojin checked her tablet. She was a serious woman with dark hair tied back tightly. We have Krikstal, our behavioral specialist from the Thraxian Empire. She knows more about animal minds than anyone in the galaxy. Commander Nolvek will keep us safe with his security team. I will coordinate all research activities. And the intern? Dr. Velthar asked. Tae-Min Kim from Seoul University on Earth. He is 22 years old and studying alien animals. This is his first mission off Earth. Dr. Hyojin looked uncertain. I am not sure why the Research Council wanted a human intern on such a dangerous mission. Dr. Velthar had wondered the same thing. Humans were new to galactic society. They had only joined 50 years ago. Most aliens thought humans were too emotional and took too many risks. But the Research Council had specifically requested a human for this mission. The ship shook slightly as they entered the planet's atmosphere. Through the windows they could see thick green jungle covering everything. Strange sounds came through the ship's sensors, roars, screams, and calls from creatures they had never heard before. Landing in Sector 7, announced the pilot. Taemin sat quietly in the corner, looking out the window with wide eyes. He was young and thin, with messy black hair and simple clothes. He carried a worn backpack and looked nervous but excited. The other team members mostly ignored him. Listen carefully, Dr. Velthar said to everyone. The Shadow Maw is the most dangerous predator on this planet. It is 4 meters tall and weighs over 600 kilograms. It has claws that can cut through metal. Its skin can change color to hide perfectly in any environment. Krikstal clicked her mandibles together, which meant she was thinking hard. The insect-like alien had large compound eyes that could see things others missed. The behavioral data is most troubling, she said in her clicking voice. Previous teams reported that Shadow Maws show intelligence equal to space-traveling species. They use tools, communicate with complex signals, and plan attacks together. How many are there? Taemin asked quietly. It was the first time he had spoken during the meeting. Unknown, Commander Nolvek replied. Scan data suggests at least 12 in this area. They live in family groups and hunt together. No one has ever successfully captured or tamed one. Dr. Hyojin added, the Galactic Research Council wants us to study them and see if they can be domesticated. If we succeed, it could change how we explore dangerous worlds. If we fail, she did not finish the sentence. The ship landed with a soft thud. Through the windows, they could see tall trees with purple leaves and thick vines hanging everywhere. The jungle looked peaceful and beautiful, but Dr. Velthar knew that was false. Somewhere in those trees, the Shadow Maws were already watching them. Equipment check, Commander Nolvek ordered. His soldiers began setting up force field generators and defense weapons. The barriers would create a safe zone around their landing site. Dr. Hyojin unpacked scanning equipment and computers. Everything was the most advanced technology in the galaxy. They had neural pacification devices that could calm any known animal. They had pheromone synthesizers that could speak to creatures through scent. They had nutritional analysis systems that could create the perfect food for any species. Krikstal set up her behavioral monitoring station. Screens showed heat signatures and movement patterns throughout the jungle. I am detecting large life forms, she reported. 3. No 4 signatures. They are moving closer. Taemin helped carry equipment, but he spent most of his time looking at the jungle. He took notes in a small notebook, writing by hand instead of using a computer. Dr. Velthar noticed the young human seemed more interested in watching than working. First contact protocol will begin in 1 hour, Dr. Velthar announced. We will attempt peaceful observation from inside the barrier. Under no circumstances will anyone leave the safe zone. The team worked quickly to set up their base. The force field generators hummed to life, creating an invisible wall around them. Sensors pointed in all directions. Defense turrets rose from hidden compartments. Then they waited. The jungle seemed quiet at first. Birds made strange calls in the distance. Insects buzzed near the barriers. Everything seemed normal for an alien world. Movement, Krixtal said suddenly. Large signature approaching from the north. Everyone looked toward the tree line. At first they saw nothing. Then the air seemed to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot ground. The shimmer moved between the trees, getting closer. "Shadow Maw," whispered Commander Nolvek. His hand moved to his weapon. The creature appeared as if made from nothing. One moment the air was empty. The next moment a massive predator stood 30 meters away. It was huge, with powerful legs and arms that ended in claws longer than Dr. Velthar's fingers. Its head was large and intelligent, with eyes that seemed to understand everything they saw. But the most frightening thing was how it looked at them. The Shadow Maw did not look at them like an animal looking at strange objects. It looked at them like a person studying interesting visitors. "Fascinating," Dr. Velthar breathed. "Look at the cranial structure. The neural capacity must be enormous." 2 more Shadow Maws appeared from different directions. They had surrounded the research base without making a sound. The creatures moved with purpose and coordination. "They are talking to each other," Krixtal said, her voice full of amazement. "Listen." The Shadow Maws made low sounds, not roars or growls, but something that sounded almost like conversation. They pointed at different parts of the base with their claws. They seemed to be discussing the strangers who had arrived in their territory. Tamed moved closer to the barrier. "They are beautiful," he said softly. Dr. Hyojin grabbed his arm. "Stay back from the edge. We do not know how strong these barriers are." As if hearing her words, one of the Shadow Maws walked directly to the force field. It reached out one claw and touched the invisible wall. Sparks flew where claw met energy, but the creature did not pull back. Instead, it pushed harder. Alarms began beeping. "Barrier stress at 40%, reported Commander Nolovek. "These things are stronger than our projections suggested." The Shadow Maw stopped pushing and stepped back. It tilted its head and made a sound that almost seemed like laughter. Then it tapped the barrier 3 times with one claw, making a rhythm. The other 2 Shadow Maws repeated the same rhythm with their own claws against trees. "They are testing us," Dr. Velthar realized with growing alarm. "This is not random animal behavior. They are experimenting with our defenses." Dr. Hyojin checked her instruments. All scans confirm these are non-sapient creatures. They cannot be intelligent species. The neural patterns are all wrong, but watching the Shadow Maws work together, Dr. Velthar was not so sure. Intelligence came in many forms throughout the galaxy. Maybe their instruments were measuring the wrong things. The largest Shadow Maw, which seemed to be the leader, sat down and continued watching them. It looked patient and curious. The other 2 spread out and began walking around the barrier, testing different sections. "Sir," Commander Nolovek said quietly, "I recommend we return to the ship. This situation is beyond our control." Dr. Velthar wanted to agree. Every instinct told him these creatures were too dangerous to study with normal methods. But the Research Council had sent them here for a reason. This mission was too important to abandon on the first day. "We continue with the original plan," he decided. "Tomorrow we begin active contact attempts." As the sun set over Kithara 7, the research team retreated inside their ship. But the Shadow Maws did not leave. They settled down around the base and seemed to go to sleep. They were keeping watch over the visitors, like guards protecting something valuable, or like predators waiting for the right moment to strike. The second day on Kithara 7 began before sunrise. Dr. Velthar woke to find the Shadow Maws still waiting outside their base. 3 large shapes sat motionless in the morning mist, watching the research station with patient eyes. "They have not moved all night," reported Commander Nolvek. His security team had taken shifts watching the creatures through night vision cameras. "They just sit and observe." Dr. Hyojin looked at the sensor readings. "This behavior makes no sense. Predators should hunt at night and rest during the day. These creatures are doing the opposite." Krixtal examined the data from her behavioral analysis systems. "Perhaps they are curious about us. Many species show interest in new things in their territory." Taimian was already awake and eating breakfast. He stood by a window watching the Shadow Maws while drinking coffee from a metal cup. "They look like they are thinking," he said to no one in particular. Dr. Velthar felt uneasy. In 40 years of studying alien life, he had never encountered creatures that acted this way. Most animals either ran away from unknown visitors or attacked immediately. These shadow maws were doing neither. Today we begin active contact protocols, Dr. Velthar announced to his team. Crystal will attempt behavioral modification using pheromone synthesis. Dr. Hyojin will try nutritional incentive programs. Commander Nolvek will deploy neural pacification fields if needed. The team moved outside, staying within the protective barriers. Their equipment was the best the galaxy could offer. The pheromone synthesizer could create any scent message known to science. The nutritional analyzer could determine what foods any creature would find irresistible. The neural pacification device could calm the most aggressive animals without harm. As soon as the team appeared, the three shadow maws stood up. They moved closer to the barrier, but not in a threatening way. They seemed genuinely interested in what the aliens were doing. Beginning pheromone communication attempt, Crystal announced. She activated her synthesizer, which released invisible chemicals into the air. The scents were designed to signal peaceful intentions and offer of friendship. The shadow maws immediately reacted. They raised their heads and sniffed deeply. Then they looked at each other and made those low conversation sounds again. The largest one approached the barrier and breathed out heavily. Fascinating, Crystal clicked excitedly. They are responding with their own pheromone signals. But the chemistry is completely unknown. I cannot translate what they are saying. Dr. Hyojin stepped forward with her nutritional program. She had analyzed samples of local plant and animal life to create food pellets that should appeal to any predator on the planet. The pellets contained perfect nutrition and irresistible flavors. She used a mechanical arm to push the food pellets through a small opening in the barrier. The pellets fell to the ground near the shadow maws. The creatures looked down at the food, then back at the humans. The largest shadow maw reached down and picked up one pellet with surprising gentleness. It sniffed the food carefully, then placed it back on the ground without eating it. They rejected the optimal nutrition formula, Dr. Hyojin said in disbelief. That is impossible. The food is scientifically perfect for their biology. The shadow maw that had examined the food made a sound that was definitely not a roar or growl. It sounded almost like a chuckle. Then it pushed the pellet back toward the barrier with one claw, as if returning something unwanted. Commander Nolvek frowned. They are showing too much intelligence. I recommend we activate the neural pacification field. Do it, Dr. Velthar agreed. But use the lowest setting. We want to calm them, not harm them. The neural pacification device hummed to life. It sent out invisible waves designed to reduce aggression and create feelings of peace in any animal brain. The technology had worked on every species ever tested. The shadow maws stopped moving when the field activated. For a moment, Dr. Velthar thought it was working. Then the largest creature turned its head and looked directly at the device. It walked over to where the machine was hidden behind the barrier. It could not see the device, but it knew exactly where it was. The shadow maw raised one claw and tapped the ground 3 times, right above where the pacification generator was buried. How did it know where the device was? Dr. Hyojin whispered. The creature tapped 3 more times, then sat down and waited. The other 2 shadow maws did the same thing. They were completely ignoring the neural field that should have been affecting their minds. The pacification field is not working, Commander Nolvek reported. Brain scans show no change in their neural activity. Dr. Velthar felt a chill run through his body. Neural pacification worked on every known form of animal intelligence. If these creatures were immune, it meant their minds worked in ways that science did not understand. Try increasing the power, he ordered. Commander Nolvek adjusted the controls. The neural field became stronger, powerful enough to calm an entire herd of the most aggressive animals in the galaxy. The shadow maws showed no reaction at all. They continued sitting and watching as if nothing was happening. Sir, Commander Nolvek said quietly, this level of field strength should affect us too. We should be feeling drowsy and peaceful, but the creatures show no response at all. Tamed had been watching everything from behind the equipment. Now he stepped forward. Maybe they do not want to be friends because you are trying to force them, he said. Dr. Velthar turned to look at the young human. What do you mean? Well, Tamed said slowly, you are spraying chemicals at them, throwing food at them, and hitting them with brainwaves. If someone did that to me, I would not want to be friends either. Crystal's mandibles clicked together rapidly. The intern raises an interesting point. Perhaps our approach is being perceived as aggressive rather than peaceful. Dr. Hyojin shook her head. These are scientifically proven methods. They work on every known species but a rule. But what if these are not like every known species? Tamed asked. Before anyone could answer, something happened that made everyone freeze. A fourth shadow maw appeared behind them. It had somehow gotten inside the barrier. Commander Nolvek spun around, reaching for his weapon. But the creature was not attacking. It was simply standing there looking at the equipment with obvious curiosity. How did it get through the barrier? Dr. Hyojin gasped. The shadow maw walked over to the pheromone synthesizer and sniffed it carefully. Then it moved to the nutritional analyzer and examined that too. It was studying their technology the same way they were trying to study it. Barrier integrity is still at 100%, Commander Nolvek reported in confusion. The field is working perfectly. Nothing should be able to pass through. The creature finished examining the equipment and looked directly at Dr. Velthar. Its eyes were intelligent and alert. It made a soft sound, almost like a question. Then it walked back to the barrier and simply passed through again, like walking through empty air. That is impossible, Dr. Hyojin said. Force fields do not work that way. But Tamed was watching the shadow maw carefully. Look at its skin, he said. When it touched the barrier, Dr. Velthar looked and saw something that made his scientific understanding crumble. The creature's skin was changing, not just color but actual texture. Where it touched the force field, its skin became like the energy itself. It is mimicking the barrier, Dr. Velthar breathed. Its skin is copying the energy signature and becoming transparent to the field. Krixtal made an excited clicking sound. Adaptive camouflage with quantum-level mimicry. The biological complexity required for such ability is beyond our current understanding. The shadow maw that had visited them rejoined the other three. They had a brief conversation in their low, rumbling language. Then all four creatures stood up and began walking away. Wait, Dr. Velthar called out. Do not leave. We want to communicate. The largest shadow maw stopped and looked back. It made a sound that was definitely not threatening. Then it continued walking into the jungle. Within minutes, all four creatures had vanished completely. The research team was alone again. Mission status report, Dr. Velthar said heavily. Commander Nolvek checked his instruments. All equipment is functional but completely ineffective. The creatures showed immunity to every contact protocol. Dr. Hyojin looked at her data. They rejected our food, ignored our pheromones, and were unaffected by neural pacification. Plus, they can bypass our security systems at will. Krixtal was analyzing the behavioral data. Most concerning is their obvious intelligence. They studied our equipment with scientific curiosity. They communicated with each other about us. This suggests cognitive ability far beyond simple animal behavior. Dr. Velthar looked at the jungle where the shadow maws had disappeared. According to all their instruments, these were non-sapient creatures. But everything he had observed suggested otherwise. Perhaps we need to reconsider our approach, he said. These creatures may be more intelligent than our initial assessment indicated. What do you recommend? Dr. Hyojin asked. Dr. Velthar was quiet for a long moment. In all his years of research, he had never encountered a problem that advanced galactic science could not solve. But these creatures had made their technology look like children's toys. Tomorrow we try advanced containment protocols, he decided. If we cannot communicate with them, perhaps we can capture one for detailed study. Tamed looked worried. Is that safe? The third day began with Dr. Velthar making a decision that would change everything. The standard contact protocols had failed completely. Now it was time for advanced containment measures. We are bringing in military-grade equipment, he announced to his team. The Galactic Research Council has authorized use of emergency containment protocols. Commander Nolvek looked pleased. His soldiers had spent the night unloading heavy machinery from the ship's cargo hold. Capture nets made from quantum-locked fibers, gravitational field generators that could hold a starship in place, stasis pods designed to safely contain the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The plan is simple, Dr. Velthar explained. We capture one shadow maw for controlled study. Once we understand their biology and behavior patterns, we can develop proper communication methods. Dr. Hyojin checked the new equipment. Everything was military standard, designed for capturing hostile alien life forms during first contact situations. The gravitational nets can hold a creature weighing up to 2 tons. The stasis field will keep it unconscious but unharmed. Krixtal had been studying recordings from the previous day. I have identified behavioral patterns that suggest optimal capture timing. The creatures appear most vulnerable during their morning territory patrol. Tamed sat quietly in the corner, looking uncomfortable. Are you sure this is a good idea? They seemed peaceful yesterday. Peaceful creatures do not bypass military-grade security systems, Commander Nolvek replied. These animals are clearly dangerous. Containment is the only safe way to study them. Dr. Velthar agreed. The Shadow Maws had demonstrated abilities that challenged everything science understood about non-sapient life. They needed answers, and observation alone was not providing them. The team moved outside to set up the capture operation. The new equipment was impressive. Gravitational field generators created invisible walls that nothing could pass through. Quantum nets could expand instantly to trap anything within a 50-meter radius. Neural inhibitors could shut down any nervous system in seconds. Target acquired, reported Commander Nolvek. His sensors had detected a lone shadow maw approaching through the trees. Single individual, approximately 4 meters tall. Perfect for capture. The creature emerged from the jungle and stopped at the edge of their original research area. It was the same large shadow maw that had led the group yesterday. It looked at the new equipment with obvious interest. Interesting, Krixtal observed. It appears curious about the changes we have made to our base. Dr. Velthar activated the capture protocol. Initiating gravitational containment in 3, 2, 1. The gravitational field generators hummed to life. Invisible forces surrounded the shadow maw, creating a cage of twisted space-time that nothing could escape. The creature should have been trapped instantly. Instead, the shadow maw tilted its head and looked directly at the hidden generators. It walked calmly to the edge of the gravitational field and extended one claw. Where the claw touched the invisible barrier, space itself seemed to bend. The creature's skin began changing, taking on the same warped appearance as the gravitational field. Then it simply stepped through the impossible barrier as if it did not exist. Field integrity compromised, Commander Nolvek reported in disbelief. The creature has bypassed gravitational containment. Dr. Velthar felt his scientific worldview cracking. Gravitational fields could not be bypassed by biological adaptation. It was physically impossible. Deploy the quantum nets, he ordered desperately. The nets shot out from hidden launchers, expanding to cover the entire area where the shadow maw stood. The quantum-locked fibers were designed to be absolutely unbreakable. Nothing in the known universe could cut through them. The shadow maw looked up at the falling net with what appeared to be amusement. As the fibers touched its skin, something remarkable happened. The creature's surface began to shimmer and change. Its skin took on the same quantum properties as the net itself. The unbreakable fibers passed harmlessly through the shadow maw's body. Impossible, Dr. Hyojin whispered. Quantum-locked materials cannot be mimicked by biological systems, but the evidence was right in front of them. The creature had somehow adapted its molecular structure to match the net's quantum signature. It stood calmly in the middle of the collapsed net, completely unaffected. Then it did something that terrified everyone. The shadow maw made the same 3-tap rhythm it had used the day before. But this time the sound came from all around them. Other shadow maws had arrived. Multiple contacts, Commander Nolvek reported, his voice tight with stress. 12, 15, 20 individuals. They have surrounded our position. The creatures emerged from the jungle in a coordinated movement that looked almost military. They moved with purpose and intelligence, positioning themselves to cut off all escape routes. They are using tactical formations, Dr. Velthar observed with growing horror. This level of coordination suggests command structure and strategic thinking. The shadow maws did not attack immediately. Instead, they began a systematic examination of the research team's equipment. Groups of 3 or 4 creatures worked together to study each piece of technology. One group surrounded the gravitational field generators. They took turns touching the devices, their skin adapting to match the energy signatures. Within minutes, they had completely neutralized the containment system. Another group found the quantum net launchers. They triggered the devices repeatedly, catching the nets and studying them. Soon they were playing with the supposedly unbreakable fibers like children with string. They are learning our technology, Krixtal clicked frantically. They are systematically analyzing and defeating every system we have. Dr. Hyojin watched in amazement as several shadow maws worked together to disassemble a neural inhibitor. They seemed to understand its function intuitively and were carefully examining each component. Retreat to the ship, Dr. Velthar ordered. All personnel, fall back immediately. But as the team tried to withdraw, they discovered the Shadow Maws had anticipated this move. A group of creatures had positioned themselves between the research base and the landing ship. They were not blocking the path aggressively, but their presence made the message clear. The humans and aliens were not leaving until the Shadow Maws decided to let them go. "Sir," Commander Nolvek said quietly, "we are surrounded by potentially hostile creatures who have demonstrated immunity to our weapons and containment systems. I recommend we attempt communication rather than further escalation." Dr. Velthar realized they had no choice. The Shadow Maws had turned the capture operation into a demonstration of their own superiority. Every piece of advanced technology had been rendered useless. Krixtal attempt peaceful contact using standard first contact protocols, he ordered. Krixtal stepped forward carefully. She raised her hands in the universal gesture of peaceful intent and spoke in the standard galactic contact language, a mathematical sequence understood throughout known space. The nearest Shadow Maw looked at her and responded with a perfect reproduction of the same mathematical sequence. But then it continued with additional mathematical concepts that were far more advanced than the basic contact formula. "It is teaching us," Krixtal said in amazement. "It understands our mathematics and is showing us more complex equations." Dr. Hyo Jin quickly connected her translation computers to record the mathematical communication. "The equations are incredibly sophisticated. This is graduate-level mathematics from multiple disciplines." The Shadow Maw that had been captured and escaped approached Dr. Velthar directly. It made the soft questioning sound they had heard before, then gestured toward the damaged equipment. "I think it is asking why we tried to capture it," Tamed said quietly. Everyone looked at the young human intern. "How can you possibly know that?" Dr. Velthar asked. Tamed shrugged. "Body language. The way it is holding its head. The gesture toward the broken machines. It looks confused and maybe a little hurt." The Shadow Maw seemed to hear Timon's words. It turned to look at the human and made a different sound, gentler and more curious. "It is reacting to the intern," Krixtal observed. "There appears to be some form of recognition or interest." But before anyone could explore this development further, alarms began sounding from their ship. Commander Nolvek checked his communicator and his face went pale. "The Shadow Maws on the perimeter have breached the ship's hull," he reported. "They are inside our vessel." Through their communicators, they could hear sounds from inside the ship. Not destruction or violence, but something that sounded almost like investigation. The creatures were exploring their technology with the same curious intelligence they had shown outside. They are not attacking the ship, Dr. Hyojin realized. They are studying it. Dr. Velthar looked around at the circle of Shadow Maws surrounding them. Every piece of equipment lay broken or disabled. Their ship was compromised. Their weapons were useless, and yet none of the creatures had shown actual aggression toward the research team. "What do they want from us?" he asked aloud. The largest Shadow Maw, the one that seemed to be their leader, approached Dr. Velthar directly. It stopped just outside of arm's reach and made a complex series of sounds that were clearly meant as communication. "I cannot translate," Krixtal admitted. "Hey seemed friendly today." Dr. Velthar stood among the ruins of his research equipment, preparing to admit defeat. 3 days on Kithera 7 had proven that the Shadow Maws were beyond the reach of current galactic science. Every advanced technology had failed. Every proven method had been rendered useless. "Begin evacuation procedures," he ordered Commander Nolvek. "We will return to the ship and prepare our failure report for the Research Council." The Shadow Maws watched calmly as the research team began packing their remaining equipment. They showed no aggression, but they also showed no intention of leaving. Several creatures continued to examine the disabled technology with obvious fascination. "Wait," Tamed said suddenly. "Dr. Velthar, can I try something?" Dr. Velthar looked at the young human intern with tired eyes. "Tamed, we have tried everything. These creatures are immune to our most advanced contact protocols." "But you have not tried human methods," Tamed replied quietly. Krixtal's mandibles clicked together in what might have been amusement. "Human methods? You are barely a spacefaring species. What could humans possibly know about alien contact that we do not?" Tamed looked embarrassed but determined. "Maybe nothing. But I have been watching them for 3 days, and I think I understand something you might have missed." Dr. Hyojin frowned. "What could you have observed that our instruments did not detect?" They remind me of dogs, Tamed said simply. The silence that followed was profound. Commander Nulvek stared at the human as if he had said something insane. Dogs? These are apex predators capable of defeating military technology. They are not domestic animals. I know how it sounds, Tamed said quickly. But think about their behavior. They are pack animals. They communicate with each other. They are curious about strangers but protective of their territory. They have been testing us, not attacking us. Dr. Velthar was about to dismiss this ridiculous comparison when he stopped. In 3 days of observation, the Shadow Maws had indeed shown pack behavior, territorial protection and curious investigation, rather than predatory aggression. What exactly are you proposing? He asked carefully. Tamed took a deep breath. Let me try to approach them the way I would approach a pack of wild dogs back on Earth. No technology, no barriers, no weapons. Just direct contact. Absolutely not, Commander Nolvek said immediately. That would be suicide. These creatures are 4 meters tall with claws that can cut through metal. But they have not tried to hurt us, Tamed pointed out. They have been protecting us from other predators. They disabled our equipment, but they did not damage us. Dr. Hyojin looked worried. Tamed, even if your observation is correct, approaching wild predators without protection is extremely dangerous. All our protection has been useless anyway, Tamed replied. They can bypass any barrier we create. If they wanted to hurt us, they could have done it any time in the past 3 days. Dr. Velthar found himself considering the proposal. Every scientific approach had failed completely. Perhaps it was time to try something unscientific. What would you do differently? He asked. Taimin walked over to their emergency supplies and pulled out a package of raw meat from their food stores. First, I would bring an offering. Not scientifically optimized nutrition pellets, but real food that shows respect and friendship. The nutritional analysis showed they rejected our food offerings, Dr. Hyojin protested. Because it was artificial, Tamen explained. Pack animals understand the difference between real food and processed substitutes. Offering artificial food is like offering fake friendship. He moved toward the edge of their base where the nearest shadow maw sat watching them. Second, I would not use any technology at all. No translators, no pheromone synthesizers, no neural fields, just basic body language and vocal communication. Krixtal looked fascinated despite her skepticism. What kind of body language? Non-threatening postures. No direct eye contact at first. Slow movements. Let them approach me instead of trying to approach them. Commander Nolvek shook his head. This is madness. You are proposing to treat deadly alien predators like Earth pets. Not pets, Tamen corrected. Like intelligent beings who happen to be shaped like predators. Maybe that is why your technology does not work on them. You are treating them like animals when they are actually people. Dr. Velthar felt a chill as he considered this possibility. If the Shadow Maws were actually sapient beings, then everything they had done for 3 days could be considered hostile action. The capture attempts, the neural pacification, the technological dominance displays, all of it could be seen as acts of aggression. The Research Council specifically classified them as non-sapient based on neural analysis. Dr. Hyojin said, Maybe our neural analysis is wrong, Tamen replied. Maybe intelligence looks different than we expect. The largest Shadow Maw, which had been sitting nearby, stood up and walked closer to where they were talking. It was clearly listening to their conversation, even though it could not understand their language. It is reacting to our discussion, Dr. Velthar observed. Almost as if it knows we are talking about it. Tamen looked directly at the creature and spoke in a calm, gentle voice. Hello. We are sorry if we frightened you. We want to be friends. The Shadow Maw tilted its head and made a soft questioning sound. Can I try? Tamen asked Dr. Velthar. Just for a few minutes. If it goes wrong, I will retreat immediately. Dr. Velthar looked at his team. Commander Nolvek looked horrified at the idea. Dr. Hyojin looked worried but curious. Krixtal was studying the Shadow Maw's body language with new interest. Very well, Dr. Velthar decided, but you will maintain communication at all times. If we tell you to retreat, you retreat immediately. Tamen nodded and picked up the package of raw meat. He walked slowly toward the edge of their base, moving in a relaxed, non-threatening manner. The Shadow Maw watched him approach but did not move away. Its posture was alert but not aggressive. Establishing video record, Dr. Hyojin announced quietly. This needs to be documented. Tamed reached the barrier that separated their base from the outside area. He sat down on the ground, making himself smaller and less threatening. Then he held out the package of meat and made a soft calling sound. He is using submission postures, Krikstal observed, reducing his apparent size and offering tribute. This is actually sophisticated interspecies diplomacy. The Shadowmaw approached slowly. It moved with careful, deliberate steps, keeping its claws retracted and its head lowered in a non-threatening position. The creature is mirroring his non-aggressive body language, Dr. Velthar realized. It understands the peaceful intent. When the Shadowmaw reached the barrier, it sat down just outside, mimicking Tamed's position. For several minutes, both human and alien sat quietly, studying each other. Then Tamed began making soft sounds. Not words, but gentle humming and cooing noises that conveyed friendship and calm. The Shadowmaw listened intently, then responded with similar soft vocalizations. "They are communicating," Dr. Hyojin whispered. "Not with words, but with tone and emotion." Tamed slowly opened the package of meat and held out a piece. The Shadowmaw reached through the barrier with one massive claw and delicately took the offering. It sniffed the meat carefully, then ate it. "Successful food exchange," Krikstal reported. "The creature has accepted his offering." But what happened next shocked everyone. The Shadowmaw stood up and walked away into the jungle. Tamed remained sitting, looking disappointed. "It rejected further contact," Commander Nulvek said. "The approach failed." "Wait," Tamed said quietly. "Listen." From the jungle came the sound of multiple Shadowmaws communicating with their low, rumbling voices. The sounds grew closer. "Multiple contacts approaching," Commander Nulvek reported tensely. "The creature has called for reinforcements." But when the Shadowmaws emerged from the trees, they were not showing aggressive behavior. The original creature had returned with what appeared to be its entire family group. Adults and juveniles moved together toward the research base. The lead Shadowmaw approached Tamed again and made the same gentle questioning sound. Then it gestured toward the other creatures with one claw. "It brought its family to meet me," Tamed said with wonder. "It is introducing me to the pack." One by one, the Shadowmaws approached the barrier where Tamed sat. Each creature received a piece of meat and made the soft communication sounds. The juveniles were especially curious, making higher-pitched vocalizations that sounded almost like questions. "This is unprecedented," Dr. Velthar breathed. "Full pack integration with an alien species. The behavioral implications are extraordinary." Dr. Hyojin was recording everything. "The social dynamics are incredibly complex. They are treating him as a potential pack member, not as a threat or prey." After an hour of careful introductions, the largest Shadowmaw made a decision that terrified and amazed the watching scientists. It disabled the barrier system with a gentle touch of its adapted skin, creating an opening in the force field. Then it gestured for Tamed to come outside. "Do not do it," Commander Nulvek ordered. "You will be completely vulnerable." But Tamed was already standing up. "They are inviting me to join them properly. This is the breakthrough we needed." He stepped through the opening in the barrier and found himself surrounded by a pack of the galaxy's most feared predators. The Shadowmaws moved closer, but their body language remained peaceful and welcoming. The largest Dr. Velthar stared through the observation cameras as Tamed sat peacefully among a pack of Shadowmaws. The young human was completely relaxed, leaning against the largest creature while smaller ones dozed nearby. It was the most impossible thing the Zalani scientist had ever witnessed. "Explain this," Dr. Velthar demanded. "How did you accomplish in 2 hours what our advanced technology could not achieve in 3 days?" Tamed looked up from where he sat surrounded by sleeping predators. His voice was quiet so as not to disturb them. "They are not that different from dogs back on Earth. Pack animals respond to confidence and respect, not dominance and control." "Dogs?" Commander Nulvek repeated in disbelief. "You are comparing apex predators capable of defeating military equipment to domestic pets?" "Not pets," Tamed corrected gently. "Family. That is what pack animals understand. They were testing you because you acted like either prey or threats. You never acted like potential family members." Krikstal's compound eyes focused intently on the scene. Her behavioral analysis systems were recording everything, but the data made no sense according to known xenobiological principles. The social integration patterns are completely outside established parameters. This should not be possible. Dr. Hyojin was running probability calculations on her computer. The mathematical likelihood of successful interspecies pack bonding with unknown predators is less than 0.03%. What Tamed achieved is statistically impossible. But it happened, Dr. Velthar said quietly. The evidence is right in front of us. The largest shadow maw, which Tamed had started calling Leader in his mind, lifted its head and looked toward the research team. It made a soft questioning sound. Leader wants to know if you would like to meet the pack properly, Tamed translated. It understands that you were trying to communicate before, but your methods confuse them. How can you possibly know what it is saying? Dr. Velthar asked. Tamed shrugged. Body language, tone of voice, context. Same way I would understand a dog that could not speak. Dogs are very good at communicating without words. So are shadow maws. Dr. Hyojin looked at her instruments. Our translation computers detect no linguistic patterns in their vocalizations. They appear to be random sounds. Because you are trying to translate words, Tamed explained. They do not use words the way we do. They communicate with emotions, intentions, and social signals. It is more like music than language. Leader stood up carefully, making sure not to disturb the smaller shadow maws that were resting against Tamed. It approached the research team's barrier and made a series of gentle sounds. It is inviting you to join us, Tamed said. Leader promises that the pack will not hurt you if you come peacefully. Commander Nolvek checked his weapons. This could be a trap. The moment we leave our defensive position, we become vulnerable. We have been vulnerable since day one, Dr. Velthar pointed out. They have demonstrated repeatedly that our defenses are useless. If they wanted to harm us, they could have done so at any time. Dr. Hyojin was studying the behavioral data. Tamed is correct about their non-aggressive intentions. Every action they have taken can be interpreted as protective rather than threatening. Crixtal made a decision that surprised everyone. I will join the human intern. This is the greatest xenobiological discovery in galactic history. It must be studied properly. The insectoid scientist approached the barrier where Leader was waiting. She moved slowly and kept her hands visible, copying the non-threatening postures she had observed Tamed using. Leader examined Crixtal carefully, then made a questioning sound toward Tamed. Leader wants to know if Crixtal is pack, Tamed said. I am telling them that she is family to me, so she should be family to them too. Leader considered this for a moment, then gently disabled the barrier section near Crixtal. The insectoid stepped through hesitantly. Several shadow maws approached to investigate the new visitor. They sniffed her carefully and made soft sounds that seemed welcoming. Remarkable. Crixtal clicked excitedly. They are using scent-based identification and social integration protocols. This is far more sophisticated than simple animal behavior. Encouraged by Crixtal's success, Dr. Hyojin decided to join them. Then Dr. Velthar himself stepped through the barrier. Only Commander Nolvek remained behind, maintaining security watch. The shadow maws gathered around their new visitors with obvious curiosity. They seemed especially interested in Dr. Velthar's forearms and Dr. Hyojin's electronic equipment. They are studying us the same way we were trying to study them, Dr. Velthar realized. They are just as curious about alien life as we are. Leader approached Dr. Velthar and made a complex series of sounds. Then it began drawing in the dirt with one claw, creating detailed diagrams. It is showing you star charts, Tamed said with excitement. Leader knows you came from space. It is asking about your home world. Dr. Velthar looked at the crude but accurate stellar cartography drawn in the jungle soil. How does it know about star navigation? They are intelligent, Dr. Hyojin said, finally accepting what the evidence had been telling them for days. Our classification was wrong. These are not animals. They are people. Crixtal was examining the social dynamics of the pack with new understanding. The pack structure is not just hunting organization. It is a complex society with roles, relationships, and cultural transmission of knowledge. But our neural analysis equipment classified them as non-sapient, Dr. Velthar protested. Galactic Standard Intelligence tests showed animal-level cognition. Tamed scratched behind the ears of a juvenile shadow maw that had decided he was a comfortable resting place. Maybe your tests are wrong. Maybe intelligence looks different than you expect. What do you mean? Dr. Hyojin asked. Well, Tamed said thoughtfully, you test for things like tool use, language, mathematical reasoning. But what if intelligence can exist without those things? What if they are smart in ways your tests do not measure? Leaders seemed to understand they were discussing intelligence. It made an attention-getting sound, then demonstrated something that shook Dr. Velthar's scientific understanding to its core. The creature's skin began changing, not just color and texture, but actual molecular structure. It became transparent, then metallic, then took on the appearance of living crystal. Finally, it returned to normal organic tissue. Conscious molecular manipulation, Dr. Velthar breathed. That requires understanding of chemistry and physics beyond most spacefaring civilizations. They do not build technology because they do not need it, Krixtal realized. Their bodies are their tools. They are living biotechnology. Dr. Hyojin was recording everything. This explains how they bypassed all our containment systems. They were not defeating our technology. They were adapting to become compatible with it. But why did our intelligence tests fail to detect this? Dr. Velthar asked. Tamed looked up from playing with the juvenile shadow moths. Because you were testing for human-like intelligence. But they think differently than humans or any other species, you know. They do not need language because they can communicate through biochemical signals. They do not need tools because they can reshape their bodies. They do not need mathematics because they understand physics intuitively. Leader made a series of sounds that definitely sounded like agreement. Then it did something that amazed everyone. It began to mimic Dr. Velthar's voice, reproducing the exact sounds the Zilani had made during their conversation. It is learning our language by listening, Dr. Hyojin said, without any translation equipment or formal instruction. Hello, Leader said in perfect mimicry of Dr. Velthar's voice. We want friends, the simple words, spoken in Dr. Velthar's own voice by a creature they had spent 3 days trying to capture, made the scientist feel ashamed of their approach. We want friends too, Dr. Velthar replied. We are sorry we frightened you with our machines. Leader made a sound that was definitely forgiveness. Then it gestured toward the other pack members and spoke again, this time in Dr. Hyojin's voice. Family, it said clearly. You are family. Over the next several hours, the research team learned more about Shadowmaw society than 3 days of technological analysis had provided. The creatures lived in complex family groups with sophisticated social structures. They had art, music, and what could only be described as philosophy. They also had technology, but it was biological rather than mechanical. They could grow structures from living tissue, communicate across vast distances through biochemical signals, and adapt their bodies to survive in any environment. Most importantly, they had been as curious about the research team as the team was about them. The 3 days of failed contact attempts had been equally frustrating for both sides. They want to learn about other worlds. Tamed translated as Leader drew more star charts. They have always wondered if there was intelligent life beyond their planet. Dr. Velthar felt the weight of first contact responsibility. This was not just a research mission anymore. This was the beginning of a relationship between the galactic community and a completely new form of sapient life. What do we tell the Research Council? Dr. Hyojin asked. Dr. Velthar looked around at the peaceful scene. Shadow Maws and researchers were